Here we are in Blender once again, end of video 03. So that's what I saved at the end of the previous video. And I'll click on that. And there we are, still in edit mode, still with the chimney selected. Let's go back to object mode. And again, I'll just hit tab to toggle. Remember that as you hit tab repeatedly, you toggle between object and edit mode. And we'll change the color of this house, because at present it's just a slightly off-white gray, and it's not quite matte, not quite shiny, slightly shiny. I suppose if this was a paint finish, you'd describe it as like eggshell. Let's go down here to Material Properties. In the Properties panel for the selected object, click on that. And the first thing you'll see, and let's move it over a bit so you can see the names properly. First thing you'll see is at the top it says Material. Let's change that. We've got some options for naming materials, and a material, by the way, is the color and the shininess and the glow and various other things. So this isn't just color. It's called a material, and that's a fairly common name in 3D generation software. So yes, we can double click here, rename it. We can double click here and rename it. And these two things are exactly the same. But if we've got a material which is only going to be used for one object in the scene, or several objects which are the same meshes, then what we can do is we can actually go up to the top here to this little row of breadcrumbs, as they're often described, and click on, not this one, click on this one, the object itself. Click on it, drag it down, drop it. You can see we're getting a little tool pop up here saying paste name, and now it's called Zero House. So that was easy. This is now the name of the material for the house, and it's nice if it has the same name, particularly when it's a multi-material, as this is going to be, when it includes several different finishes for the eaves, the roof, the walls, the windows, and so on. If it's just a single individual color, or material more accurately, then we need to use a name which describes what it is, like wall finish or asphalt road or something like that. Next thing down here, blue, which means it's active. Use nodes. Let's not use nodes right now. We're going to get on to using nodes very soon, but right now they're just going to add another layer of complexity, and we don't want to go into that. We're just going to use simple colors. So click on the blue bar and it turns gray. And now we've got a nice simple set of controls here. Base color. I'm going to click on that. And we get Blender's standard color picker. It's HSV, RGB, hex. We're probably used to RGB. There are those three letters again. XYZ, RGB, and it just divides the color up into RGB and A. Red, green component, blue component, alpha component, which is the transparency, quite important. So we'll just stick with RGB over here, and you can see it just looks exactly the same for RGB or HSV, which is hue, saturation, value, and again alpha. Hex over here is the number, and that's mainly for web development. RGB, let's make it a sort of brick color for the walls. So you can see I'm controlling a little dot, and as I move outwards towards the edge of this circle, doesn't matter which direction, I'm increasing the saturation, I'm increasing the richness of these colors. As I move at the same distance from the center around the circle, I'm changing the hue. I'm changing the actual part of the rainbow, as it were, that the color actually is. And finally, over here on the slider, we've got the value. So here it's very light, here it's so close to black as to make no difference, and here you can see we're starting to get our colors back. This is the amount of grayness, this is the amount of rich color, and this is the actual color. I'm going to make a kind of a brick color, but it's the whole house. And it's the whole house because obviously we're in object mode, we're dealing with the whole object. Alright then, let's go into edit mode. Tab. Now we see all the individual faces, and each one of them is colored in this brick-like color. We also notice that down here we've got a new set of controls. Let's go back to object mode for a moment. You can see there's nothing there. If I go into edit mode, and I'm clicking tab, but the cursor is in the properties panel, doesn't do anything. Got to have the cursor in the 3D window. Now we're in edit mode, and now we've got these three buttons and a number of other controls suddenly appearing. So I'm going to select, what am I going to select? Let's paint the eaves blue. So I want to make sure I'm in face mode here. And I'm just going to go around the house, shift left clicking as I go on the various elements of the eaves. And we can't forget underneath, very important, we don't want to get the termites and the dry rot into our little house here. I'm taking my finger off the shift key, dragging with the center mouse button, putting my finger back on the shift key, adding more faces. Of course, we can always do this in several batches. We don't have to do this all at one time. And that looks pretty good. Right, so now I'm going to create a new color. And I can create the new color before I select these faces or after. It doesn't make any difference. We do this with the plus key over here. New. And there's absolutely nothing here, so I've got to click on new, which is kind of redundant. Now, this is where I want to make sure it's a different name, so I'll just call it eaves. Good. And assign. The base color is white. Now we've got white eaves all the way around the house. Supposing we don't want them to be white, we want them to be blue. Click here, make them blue. And as soon as I lift my finger from the left mouse button, nothing happens. Oh, why is that? Because I didn't uncheck use nodes. So I'm going to uncheck use nodes, change this base color again. Now we can see it start to change interactively. So there we've got some blue eaves on the house. Very good. All right, we'll give the roof a different color as well. Plus, new, roof, uncheck used nodes. You can see this is the default. Again, we're going to be getting into nodes in a week or so, but for right now, just too much information. Base color, I'm going to make it a sort of a boring gray. Let's do that. So I'm not going to change anything in the color wheel. I'm just going to change the value like that. Okay. And I'm not changing specular or roughness or metallic. Again, we'll talk about that when the time comes. Right now, we're just doing something very simple. I'll click on that. I will hold down Control, hit plus on the keypad. So now we've extended that selection. Make sure it hasn't extended in an unexpected direction. And I'm going to hold down Shift, click, 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 assign. Okay, that didn't work. Why didn't it work? look up here. I've still got house selected. I've got to make sure that when I hit assign, the right material is selected in the list here. So you can see this is not just, incidentally, I just did Control Z there to get my selection back. Yeah, this is not a simple procedure. You've got to keep several things in mind. Now we select roof, now we hit assign. Better. So we've got the roof, we've got the eaves, we've got the chimney. Let's go into the door and the window frames. How would we change the color of those? Well, let's start by making a new material, and we'll call this frames. There we go. Don't want to use nodes just yet. Base color. There's a color picker here. So I'm just going to click on that and take that color picker over here to the eaves. So I've basically picked the same color as the eaves. You can see it's not the same color. It's darker because of the shadowing in the preview window, but that's okay. I like it this way anyway. It's slightly darker. It's the same sort of thing. So now I'm going to select the door and the windows. Click, Control +++, frames, assign. Click, Control, keypad +++, frames, assign. Select, Control, keypad +++. You notice this has jumped back again. Frames, assign. Good, that was easy. And finally, we're going to have the glass. New material, glass. Do not use nodes yet. Base color, white. All the same settings, but here I'm going to click on base color and change alpha, the transparency, all the way down. And look at what happens over here. This is our new color. It's got alpha, it's got transparency. So we can, in theory, see through it. Click. We don't want to make the door transparent. Shift click. Glass, assign. Click. Now we can actually see inside the house. We've got to be careful though, because with simple rendering, light is not going to go through this. It will actually cast a shadow, but we won't worry about that right now. We'll leave that until the next video when we light the scene, set up a camera, and make a simple rendering. And here we are back in object mode. File, save as, end of video 03, in red, just hit the plus key, 04, save as, and now we're done.